Order. Question number 12, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance.
Order. Order. The member can start his question now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and asks, does he stand by all of his questions to oral question number 1?
Order. Order. I'm going to get the member to read the question. Read the question again. Order. Ask the question again.
Sorry?
Would the member just he used answers, questions rather than answers in his reading. Just read the question again.
It actually says, sorry, it actually says answers on what I've got here.
That's right. That's exactly my point.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your tolerance and guidance. We'll have a better day tomorrow.
Order.
To the Minister of Finance, does he stand by all of his answers to oral questions?
Order. I'm now specifically looking for someone to my right that I'm going to ask to leave. So the next one, I hope, will be easy for me to pick. Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, does he stand by all of his answers to oral question number 1 on the 11th of November 2015? Thank you.
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, I do, with one small exception, and that is I've made a statement that New Zealanders' savings have been positive for 5 years, which has not happened for the last 25 years. In fact, it's not happened for the last 21 years.
Supplementary question, Derek Ball.
How can he stand by his statement, quote, "We now have the lowest rate ever of young people not in employment, education and training," end quote, being at 11%, when the rate was 10.3% when he was in opposition?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we're just using the measures as they've been consistently measured on a consistent basis for some time.
Point of order.
Point of order, Derek Ball.
I seek leave to table a document prepared by the library which shows the measurement of the NEET rates in December 08 being 10.9%.
The document's been described. I'll put the leave. Order. And that was unhelpful. Leave us sought to table that particular document. Is there any objection? There is none. It can be tabled. Further supplementaries?
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Derek Ball.
Does he agree with Stephen Joyce's comments made last week, quote, "We will quote the NEET figure, which is the lowest it's been in 7 years, at 11%, end quote, when I tabled documents in the House that day proving that to be demonstrably false?"
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's possible that we're talking about a different group of people. The numbers that we've been quoting relate to the group who have been the highest priority for the government, that's 15 to 19-year-olds, and it is the lowest in that series since March 2004. It's possible that for the wider group of 15 to 24-year-olds, that there were points where it was lower than now.
Oh, sorry, point of order, sir.
Point of order, Derek Ball.
I seek leave to table a document entitled "Introducing the Youth Not in Employment, Education and
Date of the
Training
document,
Indicator,"
please.
which shows
Order.
that the need is defined as young people.
Order. I'm not even going to put the leave. I asked the member of his state. He continues getting his message across. I'm not even going to bother. Supplementary question, Derek Ball.
Supplementary. Well, he should know.
Order. The member now will rise to ask a supplementary in line with standing orders, or he won't get the opportunity. Derek Ball.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Derek Ball.
Will he admit that the NEET rate has actually increased under National's 7 years in government? That's 72,000 youth not in employment, education or training. That's 6,000 more under National. That's an increase of almost 1,000 young people every year.
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in the first place, we might, as I said, we probably are talking about different groups. We're talking about the 15 to 19. The member's talking about 15 to 24. Secondly, we look forward to the members' constructive contribution to more solutions, because the government's put in place, for instance, the innovative youth guarantee system, the Maori Pacific Trades training system, and now the youth services. youth services which provide individual supervision for every young person.
Order. It's no point in continuing with the answer of the members not interested in. Order. I'll hear.
Question time.
Point of order.
So I just seek leave to correct an answer given earlier today in question time.
Leave is sought for that particular purpose. Is there any objection?
Mr Speaker, a supplementary answer to question 3 on behalf of the Minister of Justice. I was asked how many New Zealanders there are at Christmas Island. I indicated I wasn't certain, but I indicated a number of around 200. In fact, we don't know the exact number, but it's likely to be a much smaller number than I gave.
Order. Order. I have received a letter from Sue Moroney seeking to debate